Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Good afternoon. Okay, just to answer a few questions about the difference between exertional and non-exertional limitations. Generally, we get this information from a section called DI 245.5. Oops, let me do that again. 24515.063, exertional and non-exertional limitations. So let's just scope down here so you can get a gist of what they're talking about. They talk about impairments and related symptoms such as pain that cause limitations in your functioning or restrictions which limit you in your ability to meet certain job demands. Sometimes the limitations are exertional, sometimes they're non-exertional, and sometimes it's a combination of two. I'd say most of the time, most of us have a combination of two. As I say to my whatever aged older person who claims to only have one physical thing wrong that they're filing under, they think they're supposed to be filing under an impairment. That's not the case. And I'll say, so every other body part you have, it's like you were when you were 20, huh? Wow, that's impressive at 58. I wish I could say the same thing. Anyhow, all those things matter. And of course, as do any kind of mental health limitations, which would also be relevant. So if something is exertional, if it affects your ability to meet the strength demands of jobs, they explain how they get it from the DOL, the Department of Labor, United States Department of Labor's classification of jobs, which they do by the very exertions. And we've gone through this before in other video: sedentary, light, medium, heavy, and very heavy. In terms of the strength demands for sitting, standing, walking, lifting, carrying, pushing, and pulling, those things all get categorized within those exertional levels. So that's all the strength demands, basically, the exertionals. Scrolling down. I want to see if they explain exertional in any way different in their next little narrative here. They do say this about exertional. If the limitations and restrictions imposed by your impairments and related symptoms, such as pain, affect only your ability to meet the strength demands of jobs, and again, that would be sitting, standing, walking, lifting, carrying, pushing, pulling, we consider that you have only exertional limits. When your impairments and related symptoms only impose exertional limitations and your specific vocational profile is listed in a rule contained in the DI 25025.001, we will directly apply that rule to decide if you're disabled. Again, that is the grids, guys. So the grids are largely about the exertional. Now, if you have both exertional and non-exertional, you're definitely going to have your exertionals considered under the grids, of course. But if that doesn't work, then you can also have the rest of them considered too under the other ways of doing that. And the non-exertionals can also affect the ability to transfer your skills and adjust to other work. Okay, so let's get to the non-exertionals. The exertionals is what everyone's kind of used to, but the non-exertionals are massive, massive, super, super important. So they go on to say about the non-exertionals: when the limitations and restrictions imposed by your impairments and related symptoms, such as pain, affect only your ability to meet the demands of jobs other than the strength demands, and that's for those things that we noted above, we consider that you have only non-exertional limitations or restrictions. Some examples of non-exertional limitations or restrictions include the following. First one they note is you have difficulty functioning because you are nervous, anxious, or depressed. So there's mental health non-exertional limitations. First on their list. Now remember, you can't generally, unless you meet a listing, you're likely not going to prevail on that alone. Okay. It's got to be really severe. With the exception possibly of some gritting out folks. But then again, then it wouldn't be alone, it would be with exertionals. The second one, you have difficulty maintaining attention or concentration. Third one, you have difficulty understanding or remembering detailed instructions. The fourth one, you have difficulty in seeing or hearing. The fifth one, you have difficulty tolerating some physical features of certain work settings. For example, you cannot tolerate dust or fumes. Or lastly, you have difficulty performing the manipulative or postural functions of some work, such as reaching, handling, stooping, climbing, crawling, or crouching. That could presumably also be fingering, handling, things affected by slow-moving wrists and fingers. If your impairments and related symptoms, such as pain, only affect your ability to perform the non-exertional aspects of work-related activities, then the rules that I noted above in DI 25025.001 do not direct factual conclusions of disabled or not disabled. The determination as to whether the disability exists will be based on the principles in the appropriate sections of the regulations, giving consideration to the rules for specific case situations found elsewhere. So that would primarily be developing that RFC, residual functional capacity, and seeing if there are any jobs that can be done given your reduced RFC. They give a little blurb about the combined exertional and non-exertional limitations. When the limitations and restrictions imposed by your impairments and related symptoms, such as pain, affect your ability to meet both the strength demands of jobs other than the strength demands, meet both the strength and demands of other jobs other than, this doesn't make sense. It does, but this is kind of long. Other than the strength demands, we consider that you have a combination of exertional and non-exertional restrictions. If your impairments and related symptoms such as pain affect your ability to meet both the strength and demands of jobs other than the strength demands, we will not directly apply the rules in the grids unless there is a rule that directs a conclusion that you are disabled based on your strength limitations. Otherwise, the rules provide a framework to guide our decision. So again, if they can find you gridded out on your exertional, that's all you need. But that is often not the case. So you really have to use those other non-exertional factors. We push for people to really follow up with those. They're often the things that we don't follow up on because they're not what took us out of our last job. They're not the thing necessarily that causes us the worst pain. If we have arthritis in our fingers, but we don't have to use our fingers very much, and it only really strikes if we use them for more than 5 minutes. But we don't tend to do that. We just do little things around the house because we're not working now, because we got booted because of our big bad exertional limitation that took us out of our job. Those fingers could very well be the thing that ends up clinching your case. Hard to explain in a video, but it is so. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Exertional and non-exertional. Okay, the exertional is those big broad topics of sitting, standing, walking, etc., and everything else is largely non-exertional. I'll talk to you later. Bye.